Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I want to say that I am going to hopefully remember to make a video this Saturday or Friday explaining what you do, just like a video you could watch to before you do the gratefulness meditation we're doing every Sunday. And also I'm talking about how the Friday night individual sittings, and hopefully I'll be able to make a video Thursday or early Friday about that. And so I just wanted to address one thing. And there's been comments, particularly to this fifth edition of the Sunday meditation, where people said they felt restless and it wasn't maybe as good a meditation as previous ones experientially. There's some people that said they were blissed out or whatever. And so I want to talk about experiences in the Sajmark system this way, because everyone wants a good experience. When you go see a movie, you go see a comedian, you hang out with friends, whatever it is, you go on vacation, you want joy, you want happiness, you want bliss. And, when you hear about meditation, you're connecting to God. That's what you want to experience. And in the Sajmark system, those things do exist. Wonderful experiences for people who stick with it, and those experiences are there. But like any other experience, it comes and goes. And as you're moving along your spiritual yatra, there is like 4 conditions to each point, and I can't remember them, but one of them's restlessness. Like one of the 4 conditions, at every stage that you're at, there's some restlessness. And that restlessness is meant for you to want to move forward. There's the spiritual point that Babaji pointed out that is complete bliss, and that it's a trap for people because they'll just want to stop there and not move forward on their spiritual journey. And so the bliss is limited or just skipped altogether by the master, the divine hierarchy that is moving people through their spiritual yatra, because people will stop. People will say, "Oh, I've made it. I don't want to go any further. This is great." So if you come to the Sajmark system looking just for bliss, just like in any relationship or anything, looking just for, the good things, the positive things, you're not going to do well with the system, because you'll experience the bliss, but when it's not there, you'll think something's wrong, or how come I don't feel good today, right? And as you come in as a person, some people are just naturally happy. They make a lot of serotonin, whatever. On one level of existence, they're happy. But in terms of your spiritual condition, it's not good. There's very few people that have even a mediocre spiritual condition coming into Sajmark. People are filled with grossness. And you might be able to ward off the grossness or not, or get used to it, or whatever it is, whatever way you deal with it. But when you do the Sajmark system, just the cleaning itself makes you feel so much lighter. And, there's bliss in just that, right? There's bliss in just any spiritual condition that's better than what you're experiencing. That you're going to feel great just from that alone. And so there's going to be positive experiences. But the restlessness and the other things that you feel aren't, you are whatever you feel inside. And when you come in contact with God, sometimes it doesn't feel good because of whatever's going on with you, the grossness, whatever's blocking you from moving forward. And so when people do this meditation, the gratefulness meditation, I can't say it's supposed to be like this, or you're supposed to experience that. And you hear other people's experiences, but these other people saying they're blissed out, but I don't feel that at all, right? And so the assessment of the system is whether you feel like you're connecting to God. And the answer might be, well, I don't really feel that at all. Or, maybe partially or whatever. And, you have to do it for a while and, do it on a regular basis, do the cleaning and, the other things that in the playlist, I have all these things explained, and I have links to how to do the meditation, what it's about, right? And you can evaluate the system because it is an experiential system. And, feeling the transmission, whether you feel the transmission or not, or what that feels like, all those things. See, one of the problems that this might have been what affected Daji, whatever happened with him, Kamlesh, is that the master of the system is, where the transmission, they're spiritually where the transmission flows through. They feel like that all the time. You're getting an experience of what they feel like all the time. And so it becomes normal, right? And so part of the reason you feel good is the contrast between where you are now and a taste of whatever you get in the Sajmark system or any system that connects you to God. So you might feel better or will feel better when you do a religion that puts you in contact with God just a little bit, or puts you in, a different spiritual condition, or cleans off a little bit of the heaviness that you go through life, right? You feel better because you normally you feel really bad, but you're just used to it, right? You feel really heavy, you feel disconnected. And so just a little bit of God's love feels great because you're, the grossness that's inside of every person that's, part of planet Earth now. And so that's, as you move along, you feel less and less of that because if you're in a state of constant remembrance, you feel good all the time. Like you feel that condition all the time and you don't feel the energy because there's not a contrast between the way you feel miserably all the time and the denseness of the grossness that you have inside of you. As that gets lightened and you feel more and more of your soul and more of the divinity within, then there isn't such a big contrast. And so the experiences aren't going to be as good, right? And, people have been doing the system for a long time. That's what happens to them. They stop feeling like great, in terms of the sittings, and because they're, more and more like that all the time, and they quit and they get gross again and, whatever. Maybe they come back, whatever. It's just the stupidity of humanity. But in terms of like the system, there's ways to evaluate, and you have to figure that out for yourself, whether you're connecting to God or not, because that's what the system does. And you have to, experience it and decide whether that works or not. And if you feel that way and you're able to, feel that way regularly and, approaching it and being grateful is a big part of it. And then setting your intentions to say, I want to experience this. I want to connect to God, because most people are scared of God. 99% of people, I think everybody's scared of God a little bit, right? Not from the fact that God's going to punish you, but from the fact that when you connect to God, God shows you things and you feel things that you don't want to know about yourself, right? Because, God sheds light on things that you're denying about yourself and things you're being dishonest about or rationalizing or whatever it is. And so people don't want to see the truth of what they really are. Their egos don't want to see the truth of what you really are. It's just, everybody has that. And, there was always a little nervousness I had when I was around Master Charji, because I knew he saw things that I didn't. And, and part of that was the divinity within me. Like, people are scared of their own soul. They're scared of their true potential. They're scared of becoming that, right? Their egos are scared of annihilation when you embrace your soul's path. The ego, thinks that it's going to be destroyed, and, it's not going to be, but it's going to be lessened. It's not going to have as much control over your existence when you surrender to God. And everybody's scared about that. And it's, very evident in Sajmark's system. The loss of control freaks people out and they quit because their egos can't control, what God is going to show them, and what they, once you commit to God and you give up your ability to choose the wrong thing, which is ultimately what Sajmark is about. You don't get to make the wrong choices anymore. Like, you can, but you just won't. Your ego doesn't have the freedom. Like, people talk about freedom all the time and all this. It's really the freedom to make mistakes. It's freedom to do the wrong thing. It's the freedom to do wrong. Because there's only one right choice in any circumstance. It's a choice that God wants you to make. God, not even wants. You need to make God's choice. So that's what you're here for. You're confronted with a problem, and that problem has infinite amount of choices and one right one. And you have to make that right one. And, and people don't want to do that. Like, it's a lack of freedom. They want to be able to have the freedom to do any of the wrong choices and, whimsical, egotistical, selfish choices. And the ego doesn't like that. So it runs away from Sajmarg. It runs away from God, runs away from its soul, blocks them, and whatever, finds some way, a defense mechanism still to, not experience that. That's the problem of humanity, because we have the ability to choose wrong. We just, we ultimately have to give up that ability, and most egos don't want to do that. Even people who are working towards being godly people, good practitioners of the Sajmarg system, struggle with this. Everybody does. And so, this is just a little of a framework about, the meditation, the system. And like I said, hopefully I'll remember, because like days go by and I just forget things. But hopefully I'll remember to make this video about how you do the meditation. And again, it's never going to be the kind of instructions that people want to hear. I was sitting around with, I was at a gathering at the Molina Ashram in Georgia. The second gathering, I think, first or second gathering I went to. And I was sitting with 4 engineers, just weirdly enough. And they all talked about the cleaning process. You sit there with the idea that all the day's impressions are going off of your back in smoke and vapors. And none of them could get it. They all hated it. Like it wasn't clear enough, the instructions. Because from an engineering perspective, from a scientific perspective, they needed more. These were smart people, right? And they all talked about how they eventually came to terms with it and they were able to do the cleaning, but they had been practicing for some number of years, and they all were struggling with the abstract nature of the system, right? And so, it's something you just have to figure out, right? When Babaji first made preceptors, there were no books and no instructions. Like he said, just go out and work. He didn't even say what to do. He didn't tell them what to do or how to do it, right? He just said, sit there and work, and the work will teach you. And that, if they did it, if they gave sittings, the sitting would work and they would be able to figure out how to do it. But people just couldn't flip that switch, right? So they needed instructions. They needed, and people are like, well, what's it supposed to be like? Because you're going into the abstract world of your internal universe, which is far more vast than the material universe, each person's internal universe is. And so it's difficult, right, for people to understand what they're supposed to experience, how they're supposed to do it. And you learn by doing it. And you just, the transmission's there to help teach you, help guide you on your path. And your heart begins to change, and, cleaning of the grossness, and then all of a sudden you kind of, get a sense of what you're supposed to be doing and how it's supposed to be going. Anyways, I just thought I would do this little bit of a thing here. And hopefully I'll, remember to do these other things I said I was going to do on Friday and Saturday. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.